Welcome to another exciting episode of In Conversation with Alethia. I'm your host, Alethia O'Hara Stevenson. In each episode, I sit down with amazing individuals from our communities who are doing incredible things. The show will educate, it will empower, and it will inspire you. On this episode, I am honored to have an incredible trailblazer. She's an author, a business owner, and she also hosts a show called The Gems of Life. It is my honor to have Fadhwa Yusuf on In Conversation with Alethia. Welcome, Fadhwa.
Thank you, Alethia. Oh my God, I'm super excited to be here. And thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be in the same space as you.
Oh my, the honor is all mine. I am excited.
Yes,
And
yes.
I know I did not give you enough justice in your bio. I would love to have a little bit more about who you are, your background, your why. So let's start with who's Fadhwa?
Oh my God. I'm still figuring it out.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and that's part of going the distance, right? Figuring yourself out. So who is Fadhwa? Fadhwa is finally getting in touch with herself. Fadhwa is discovering herself. Fadhwa is you asked me that question. I just want to take a moment to actually just honor her, because oftentimes we don't do that.
Beautiful.
You know, we use titles and accolades and achievements, and we don't take a step back to actually pause and actually reflect and honor who we are. So I just, right now in this moment, what is true for me right now is just to say, Fadhwa is here. Fadhwa is grateful. Instead of who is Fadhwa, Fadhwa is here. And she's just embracing in this moment right now. And I just want to honor her and celebrate her in her space right now.
I love that. That is truly beautiful. And you are so right, because often we don't take the time to just honor ourselves. We're so caught up in this world of accolades and titles, and we're quick to celebrate others, but we don't often just take a moment to just be still, go within and celebrate our own uniqueness, our own identities. So that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I want to touch on, some of the great things that you're doing in the community, in particular around your business. Your business is focused around empowering women, and I can only imagine that some of that journey stems from your own life experiences as well. Can you share a little bit more about your whys around what you're doing with the Gems of Life?
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to that title, The Gems of Life, right? In every difficulty, in every challenge, in every obstacle, any barrier that we face, if we just take time to look within, there's a gem in it.
Okay.
There's a gem in it, right? And oftentimes we fall into the trap of what's wrong, what's happening, what is going on, what's wrong with me, why are things not working out for me? Why am I a failure? Why am I not succeeding? And we fall into that trap, Alethia, right? And it's so easy to get trapped. So for me, when I look at the Gems of Life, I think about 4 years ago, it started with Accelerate Your Life.
Okay.
That's how the Gems of Life was given birth to. So the mother of Gems of Life was Accelerate Your Life 2020.
Wow.
And Accelerate Your Life came from a space where I was just learning a couple of things, not where I am, to be honest with you, but there was a few gems and pearls that were coming along and I was experiencing in my life. And I actually thought, oh my God, this is so incredible. It's so good. I want to share it with others.
Yes.
And that's how Accelerate Your Life 2020 began. No idea that it's going to give birth to the Gems of Life.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Yeah, finish, because I want to touch on some of the nuggets that you just highlighted, the fact that you can, dwell on the negatives and why is this happening to me and how you're able to transform that. But finish your thought and then I'll dive into it.
Yeah, so like perfect example, there's so many different examples, right? I mean, the most recent example was July 18th. I was given my notice of termination.
Wow.
3 days before I went on vacation. And I was gone for a month. By the time I come back, I only had 3 days of work, and then that's it. So August 30th was my last day. So I'm sitting there as they're telling me, they're giving me the notice, and I'm thinking there. And Alethia, I'm a single parent, which means one single income coming into my household. And the only income I actually rely on is my employment income. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my God, of course the fear, right? Of course, I will start thinking about, oh my God, how am I going to take care of my bills, take care of my kids?
Absolutely.
Traveling, so many expenses. And then it went back to that moment. Oh, hold on, wait a minute, Fadhwa. You've been praying for this. You've been praying for time. You've been praying for time. See the
How
difference?
profound. Yes.
See the difference? When you go down, if I had taken the time to actually focus on the downhill side, the things that went wrong, the rent, how am I going to take care of my bills and all that, I would be going down that spiral. But what I did was I asked myself, hold on, I've been asking for time specifically so that I can do the assignment, deliver the assignment that I've been sent to do, work on the work that I've been sent to do. And my energy and focus and attention went towards that. Now, was there a gem in there? Absolutely. I've been handed over what I've been praying for. That's
I
the
love
difference.
it.
Yes, that's the difference. So there's always a gem in every challenge, obstacle. What we think is an obstacle is it's always a redirection towards your calling or something greater than what you're actually seeing.
Amazing. I love that. And I love the fact that here you are just a few months short of, leaving your employer, and you've got this spark, this glow towards you. And again, gems of life, right? So the opportunity often comes and we don't seize them. And you were able to seize the gem of life by embracing this journey that was unexpected, but turned
Yeah.
out to be a gem. That's beautiful.
Yeah, there's a gem in every moment.
I love that. And
Yeah.
how do you transition that? So you've been on this journey since August now, and I want to dive into what you've been doing since then. But how do you translate that now into the work that you're doing with empowering women and young people to embrace the gems of life? Because it's easy to dwell on the negative. It's easy to dwell on, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my rent in that downward spiral? So how do you translate that now into the positives and focus on the journey ahead as opposed to looking behind you?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I came across a study that said 92% of people find difficulty in terms of clarity, in terms of sense of self, in terms of sense of direction. 92%, that's a staggering number, Alethia.
Yeah.
Right? And I said to myself, I've experienced that. I sometimes experience that. We are human, right? But what can I use based on the gems that I've picked up in my life? How can I use it now and help others? So since, for the past 2 years, I've been working on something amazing. For the past 7 years, I've been thinking of writing a book. But the past 2 years, something came into fruition. And it was the gems that I've picked up throughout my life, through, just seeing my own transformation, my children, and then the clients that I worked with, and then the people's lives changing right in front of me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this has to get out, right? This has to get out. So when we go back to the challenges, the obstacles, or even just giving up or this sense of helplessness, I want to say that it's part of experience. We want to give ourselves that break and say, okay, I'm only human. And it's okay to experience that, but to a certain point.
Right.
It's okay. We are not perfect. We're not perfect. We're not going to go through life smooth and everything is perfect. No, we're going to go through life and there's obstacles that will direct us to where we're supposed to be going. It's only when we don't listen that we find ourselves stuck.
Yes.
Yeah.
I often say that if you don't go through life with a few bumps and bruises, you're not living.
Right? Absolutely. And we're so scared of, one of the things I've come to realize, Alethia, we're so scared of the unknown. Right? We are geared to know the answers. We want to know the answers. That's natural. And the fear of unknown scares a lot of people, and people don't know that.
Very
I'm a
true.
failure. That word just alone, I will fail. Fail. How would you know you will fail if you haven't even tried? Or
What if you succeed?
Right? We never think of what's the option. What's the other option? Okay, and if I fail, I'm going to get up. How many times have I fallen through life? Right? Think about when we were young, growing up as kids, young baby. If the first time we fell and we looked at our parents and said, "Psh, I'm not walking again." What would have happened?
Very true.
Right?
Yes.
So we falling is part of life. We're gonna fall because there's learning. As long as there's lessons that we can extract from that, then we haven't failed. We have actually succeeded.
Nice. I love that. And I love that you've got your recent book. Is this your first publication?
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
amazing.
Super excited.
Congratulations. Going the distance, no parts left behind. So I have to ask you about that title because it sounds like it's packed with nuggets and gems. And as I'm hearing your journey, it sounds like it includes aspects of your life and some of the gems that you've learned along the way. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Absolutely, absolutely. Excuse me. I'm just recovering from a cold.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah. Okay, so going the distance. Uh, like think about our lives, right? In general, we are going the distance
Mm-hmm.
in our personal or professional life. We are going the distance. And when I started this book about 2 years ago, let me tell you, I didn't think it will end the way it ended.
Wow.
Yes. And everything came through about December of last year. All
Mm-hmm.
the pieces. Christmas holidays, I was home and I had time off from work so I could focus on my book. And everything just
Flowed.
flowed, and it's not just you're thinking there what you're gonna write. It felt like a message that was coming through me. And it felt not only that it resonated with me, but it made perfect sense. It was like the missing links that I've been
Mm-hmm.
waiting to get. And that is exactly what I needed to put this book together. And that's where the subtitle came about, No Parts Left Behind.
Okay, wow. And so I'm going to touch on the no parts left behind in 1 second, but I can only imagine the timing of you being released from your organization to the release of this book.
Yeah.
That was one of the gems of life as well, right?
Oh, perfect timing. Talk about timing, right? I mean, could I have possibly have done what I did had I still continued working? Impossible. It would have taken me longer to complete what I
Yes,
needed to complete. So after August 30th, right up until today, all I have had is time,
love it.
and that's I actually touch on a chapter on time in this book.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And this is one of the gems, Alethea, because last year during the Christmas holidays, I came about that huge nugget, the gem, how to work with time, how to develop a relationship with time. You know what we've been taught is to manage time.
Uh-huh. Ah, you can't.
You can't manage time.
Yes.
You can't manage time, but you can develop a relationship with time, a whole different
Love
relationship with time.
that.
And when you figure that out, that secret, let me tell you, everything will come according to how you work with time. I
Hmm.
call time my friend. Time is my ally. Time is my friend. Time delivers to me everything that I desire. When you
That's
approach time in that way, it's unbelievable.
just the way you've articulated it. It makes so much sense and it sounds so simple, but you have to be purposeful in
Yes.
creating that relationship with time. Just like how you nurture and you create relationships with your mentors,
Yeah,
your coaches, you have to create that relationship with time to be able to get the benefits from it. And we don't
absolutely.
think about it.
No, no.
Oh,
We just rush through it and we squeeze everything out of time. And time is so giving and so forgiving,
yes, yes,
you know, and it will always be there. It shows up no matter what. Time shows up for us,
yes,
but do
yeah.
we show up for it?
I love that. And oftentimes we focus on the tomorrow. Tomorrow will come and I'll get it done tomorrow. What about
No.
the time you have now?
This is what I have
Yes.
right now. This is what I have right now. This moment is what I
Yes.
have, right? And what can I do with it?
Oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
there's some parts of this book as I'm hearing you talk about it, I am thinking a medicine for the soul.
Oh, truly
Maybe that
is.
will be book two.
Yeah,
But
right?
yes, I love that. But I want to now touch on no parts left behind because I am
Mm,
now curious. It
mm,
sounds like you have shared a bit of your soul, a little bit about your journey, your own personal journey. Do you want to, without giving away all of the
Mm,
book, because we want people to,
yes.
support, but can you share a little bit about the journey and no parts left behind, what people can expect?
Yeah, like honestly, the subtitle was just the perfect match, aligned with the title, right? No Past Left Behind came about Christmas holidays last year of 2023. And I'm getting a little bit emotional here because
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about putting your soul, I'm very vulnerable in this book. And not only do I share my piece of my soul and heart, I actually share some of the things that anybody can do to get where they need to get. Because we're
Okay.
all on a journey, we're all going on a distance. And when I talk about no past left behind, I'm using the trauma lens as well. Because, somebody had said, my broken pieces. I said, no, they're not broken. They're
Mm.
kind of scattered everywhere. And we just want to bring them together.
Mm-hmm.
They're not broken. They're not broken pieces. They're wounded, right? They're just wounded parts that we want to bring them together and heal them so that we can be whole together,
Right.
once again. So, no parts left behind. When I talk about that, it's the belief system that we hold. It's the personality traits that we have developed that sometimes we think it's true for us when it's not, because it's
Okay.
preconditioned,
Yes.
right? It's been preconditioned from a very early stages in our life. It's our habits, it's our life patterns, it's our compulsion to do things like the
Mm-hmm.
pleasing, the fixer,
Huh? That's
right? The
huge. Yes.
perfectionist. Those are parts. Those are all parts. And those are the wounded parts. And how do we bring all those parts together and make them whole again and heal
Mm-hmm.
them so that we can become whole? And we cannot rewrite our narrative, Alethia. We cannot rewrite the story without these parts
Mm-hmm.
because they're very much in our life today.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is very deep. Oh my goodness. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing. I can only imagine the impact that this will have on someone reading this book. And talking about trauma is not easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most difficult things to do. And especially when you have to do that deep reflective work to understand who you are and the personality that you've developed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Addressing childhood trauma is not easy, even for an adult.
I
So
know. I
that
know.
is powerful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that brings relief to a lot of people is this, that we think that we, the adult, are the one that are carrying the wound, right? So I
Yeah.
always say you, the adult, are capable, capable, powerful, and you're able to hold that space for that little part in you, that young part of you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're not the one who's wounded. You are carrying the wound of the younger self.
Yes, yes.
And which means that you can make decisions, different decisions. You
Uh-huh.
can act instead of react. But oftentimes, if we have not developed that relationship again with our younger self, that younger self tends to be on the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes.
Right? And then we find ourselves in situations and you're like, how did I get here? And
Wow.
we don't realize we're in the passenger seat or the back seat. And the younger self, the wounded self, is on the driver's seat and actually driving the conversations or relationships or anything in our life.
That is so powerful. And, as you're speaking, it reminds me of an incredible coach that I have, Andrew Guy. And he often talks about, do you want the child to be in the driver's seat, at the wheel while you're in the back? And the fact that you just said those exact same words, it's chilling, but it's so powerful about, when you go through trauma and you're looking at your life, how do you want that narrative to play out? Do you want to take control or do you want to be in the back seat while the adolescent is at the wheel?
Mm.
It's truly beautiful, and thank you for sharing because it's powerful. And I hope that my audience will be able to pick up some of these nuggets and really take a stock of their life. And it doesn't necessarily have to be around trauma, right?
No.
It could be anything that is simply affecting your life on a day-to-day basis. Who do you
Mm-hmm.
want to be at the wheel? Who do you want to take control?
Yeah.
Wow. I want to dive into, another strong element that I think is so critical, especially for women and for women of color. And it's around dealing with trauma, but also when it comes to our own cultural identity. And I'm going to go on a limb and use the word strong, right? We've been conditioned to be strong and to, shoulder it all. How were you able to get over that,
Mm.
to be able to now get to the state where you're sharing, you're opening up? And in opening up, I know you're going to impact lives. You're going to help so many other women. But for you, I'm sure it was not easy. How were you able to get to this stage?
Oh, it's so true, right?
Yeah.
We've been conditioned.
Hmm.
Women have been conditioned from such a young age to be strong, to be courageous, no matter what, right? I
Yeah.
mean, when you just talked about that, it took me back to my younger years. And this is a conversation I started having, and I think maybe that's a conversation for another book. Being parentified at a very young age,
Wow.
right? So especially this happens if you're firstborn. If you're firstborn child and you're a
Hmm.
girl, you're gonna bear the most responsibility.
Yes.
So I have four siblings and I'm the first child. Guess what? I was like a second parent to my siblings.
Wow.
And from a very young age, I look at my son, he's 15 now. He cannot do anything. The responsibilities that I had shouldered,
Yes.
he cannot. I look at him and I'm like, how did I bear that responsibility?
Hmm. Hmm.
Why? Because we are taught from a very young age, you're strong and this is your responsibility. And that changed two things, changed the relationship dynamic I had with my siblings. Because now I
Hmm.
realized that I was more of a parent to them than a sibling. So
Right.
the relationship between siblings was lost because I didn't have that. We didn't have playtime. I never played with them. I was scolding them and making sure they did their homework at the age of 12.
Wow.
Yeah, cooking and cleaning and taking
Yes.
their homework, taking care of my own homework. And it was based on because of the situation and the conditioning, right? And you feel like I have to step up.
Yes.
I have to have the first child, I have to step up. So one of the things that I think for us, especially women, we think that we have to step up. We have to shoulder the responsibilities.
Hmm.
And we form these habits of the fixer, right? I have to fix things. There's a problem,
Yes.
I have to be
Yes.
the fixer. So for us as adults now, we can change that narrative. We are not fixers. I don't need to fix anything. And I don't need to shoulder anything. And you know what? I'm not strong. I don't like that word because to me, I look at it as, it means that I'm taking on something that it's based on a narrative of how I should be and how I should show up. Right? Oftentimes people will say, you're so strong, you made this decision. No, I'm just courageous enough to make decisions and choices that I feel are right for me at
Yes.
this moment. Sometimes I do make those bold decisions that make me strong, but I'm not. I make those decisions because something forces me to do it. They're decisions that I had to make, not because I was strong, because I wanted to get out of a survival mode.
Right.
Right? So it's changing the narrative around that word as well. Like I'm very big on words that we use,
Hmm.
right? Like this past weekend, we'll talk a little bit about that. I know for sure. But let me tell you, after my book launch, Saturday came, I stopped everything. I was like, it's time for me to just heal my body now and recover. Because I noticed I was getting a little bit sick and I'm thinking, oh, my body's telling me now to stop,
Yes.
right? I could make a strong decision, say, no, I'm strong. I need to show up. I need to do
Yeah.
this. I need to
Yes.
do this to prove myself. But who do I need to prove myself to? Right? The number one person I need to validate is me today.
Yes. Very true.
And how do I validate is honor myself in this moment.
I
And
love that.
yeah.
That's powerful. And, oftentimes we look at the external factors and, what will this person think? How will this person view me? When the reality is, who cares? Right? You should be honoring yourself and looking inwards to how you can heal yourself, how
Yeah.
you can show up in the space to improve you, not based on someone else's expectations. I want to, and since we're talking about, honoring yourself and healing, I want to touch on how do you dispel, when it comes to healing, how do you dispel some of the misconceptions and some of the myths around, healing? And again, just jumping off this whole concept of being strong. And, I hate the term strong Black woman, but how do we dispel some of those myths?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, trauma healing, it's just been thrown out there, right?
Mm,
And a lot of people are scared when they hear the word trauma because they feel they're a victim, right? They feel like they're helpless. And I'm thinking, no, trauma is just an experience, something that happened in your past, but it's not what happened to you. Like Gabo Mate, I'm a student of Gabo Mate, and he often talks about, he says, it's not what happened to you that is a trauma. The trauma is how you interpreted the situation, what happened to you. That is
okay.
the trauma, right? So oftentimes when we think about trauma and healing, we think, oh, it's a dark, dark path. I don't want to go. I don't want to go down that path, even though we want to heal from it.
Mhm.
But we are so scared to revisit the past. But I often say that any moment, in this moment, anytime you find yourself triggered and you find yourself really reactivated, it's not this moment that triggered you. It predates, this experience predates this moment. It's
Wow.
actually taking you to a point in life, an experience that has taken you in the past. So you've literally lost control to be in the present moment and you've been taken into the past.
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely a gem. And I hate to end our conversation now, but we are at the end of our show, Fadwa, and this conversation has been incredibly inspiring. And I want to thank you. Thank you for holding space and for honoring yourself and for sharing your journey with us. It has been an incredible honor to host you on In Conversation with Alethia.
I truly, truly appreciate you having me here, Alethia, my sister. Thank you for sharing the Going the Distance, No Paths Left Behind. It's now available on Amazon. Get your copy and
I
follow me
love
on
it.
social media.
I love it. Thank you so much, Fadwa. This has been another incredible episode of In Conversation with Alethea. Tune in next time for another amazing episode. Bye for now.
Bye.